Welcome back, folks. Brent here with Hammer Armament. Today we're going to be doing a Build-A-Belt episode. The purpose of this episode is to show you how to set up a good kind of general use gun belt. Something that can serve as a solid standalone range belt or a bit of a base for a more specific setup. I'm going to break up this video in a couple sections. First, we'll kind of go over just a little bit of the theory of how you want to set these things up. Then we'll go over the parts that we selected. Then we'll go ahead and we'll put it all together on camera, show you how to set it up and put it together. A general use range belt is just kind of the standard, tactical range belt that most guys kind of set up. It's always going to consist of your belt, your holster, a couple pistol mags, and usually a rifle mag and an IFAK. You can go and make things a little bit more complex, adding more things in there. Tourniquet carrier is always a good idea. Maybe a knife, maybe even a general purpose pouch for some of the little goodies that you need. But this is going to be just focused on the basics of getting you to the range, keeping you on the shooting line as long as possible, keep your training as efficient as you can to help you improve. This isn't going to be like a specific, USPSA belt or a 3-gun belt or, underwater long range breacher recce patrol belt. It's just going to be a good base to get you at the range and have everything set up kind of where you need it. There's always going to be a couple things that are semi-generic and where they got to be placed. Your holster is always going to be on your dominant side. Whatever your strong head side is, that's where your holster goes. Your pistol mag pouches are going to be somewhat opposite of that on the other side, usually forward of your rifle mag pouches. And then from there, you can kind of add in all the other stuff like GP pouches or IFAKs, things like that. Whether you're hitting the range just for some training, doing a training class, investigating a bump in the night, or repelling a space alien invasion, this is going to be a solid belt setup. Naturally, we'll be using our Minuteman package for this build. This particular package consists of a holster, 2 mag pouches, and a rifle pouch. However, it is scalable so that you can, say, upgrade to a level 2 retention holster, such as this one here. Or you can add extra rifle and pistol pouches, as well as even add a tourniquet carrier. But this basic kit is a really good starting point for most gun belts. However, one thing to keep in mind is that while this is a basic kit, that doesn't mean that it's cheap or inexpensive. By selecting the right parts, we can improve the overall value by building a kit that will last and that can grow with your needs. One other option on our Minuteman package when you're going through selecting things is selecting the right mounts for holster and for mag pouches. But let's skip that for a quick second and we'll go to the belt, because that's really the foundation of our build. The belt I've selected for this is my current favorite kind of do-all belt, which is the Wojtek belt from Baer Solutions. I don't know if that's how you say it. Wojtek. I really don't know. Either way, this is one of my favorite belts. It has a nice sturdy Cobra buckle. It features overlapping Velcro coverage at the front, which actually creates a very sturdy belt, even though it is nice and light. It also provides a pretty good variety of mounting options. So as you can see here, we got all these holes here for directly bolting things such as an ELS. One of the problems with a lot of tactical belts is how they kind of address dealing with sizing and adjustments is it's a dual layer sewn nylon all the way across. Once it gets to the buckle, it'll be just a single layer that loops back on itself. And that kind of creates a bit of a hinging point. Whereas if you've got something like this that's kind of overlapping, it's a lot more rigid and it will spread the load all the way across the belt rather than kind of creating hot spots by your holster or your mag pouches where you got the heavier items. Now that we've decided on a belt, we can pick a mount. For this belt, the best mount for mag pouches is going to be the Tech Mount Mini Baer. If you're buying it elsewhere, it's going to be called the Tech Mount Mini Kit, no attachment with hardware. This allows you to mount the receiver directly to these holes in the belt. The Safariland ELS is another option, though in my personal opinion, I think that is a bit more dated in comparison to these. That is a quick release system as well, but these not only allow for, quick detach and attach of mag pouches, but it also allows you to adjust the cant angle, which is actually quite a pretty handy thing. Now, why would you want a quick release system? Well, just for simple versatility. The ability to quickly rearrange your gear to suit your task is really quite handy. I will go over that just a little bit more once we have everything assembled, because it'll be easier to kind of see how it all works. Now for the holster mount, we are going to be going with the Tech Mount kit on duty drop. Now inside this kit, you're going to get a leg strap, the Tech Mount that's already bolted to the duty drop, and you're also going to get instructions and a little hardware kit. Now, one of the reasons that you want a drop offset mount such as this, one of them is it's going to put the holster at a bit more of a advantageous position, but dropping it a little bit lower. It's going to be a lot more comfortable for most people to draw. Another advantage is that if you're wearing a plate carrier or chest rig and you don't have one of these drop offsets, you're going to kind of run into conflicts where when you draw, you're going to be running into your plate carrier or chest rig. Once you have one of these things on there that drops it down a little bit, offsets it out just a little bit, it gives you just a little bit more clearance for your draw. One of the reasons that I like this kit is it is adjustable for your belt size. The Safireland, say UBL, mid-ride UBLs, they've got this big slot in here that goes up to 2 1/4 inch belts, but they don't have any options for smaller belts. So what happens is when you put a smaller belt, like an 1.5 inch or 1 3/4 inch belt in there, it tends to kind of slide up and down unless you use like, zip ties or something to kind of pin it in place. Whereas this just has this simple spacer here. All you got to do is take the screw out, adjust it to which size belt. There's 1.5 inch, 1 3/4, and 2 inch. And if you take it completely out, then it'll work on like 2 1/4 inch duty belts. Let's go ahead and put this all together. So we're going to start with the holster mount. So on this particular belt, you're going to want to take off the excess loop kind of organizer. Just set that aside, pull the buckle off, and just for fun, I'm going to use the belt mount that I've already kind of painted and have been using for a while, because I have been using this belt already. Just slide it right through like that. It's really quite simple to put this on. Once you have it kind of in your place, just put the buckle back together and make sure that before you go and deal with all this extra by tying it up, put the belt on, make sure it's sized correctly, and get an idea of it. You can even, say, mark the excess with the pencil, like make a mark on this with the pencil so you know it's lined up. Then you can take this and just kind of feed it back through this little slot here and wrap it up. Keeps it nice and neat and tidy and out of the way. So kind of like that. There, holster's pretty much done. Now we can move over to mag pouches. Now for mag pouches, inside of your kit, you will receive the receiver, instructions, and a little hardware kit. I'm going to be, again, just reusing the ones that I've been playing around with, which are pre-painted. And what I'm going to want to do is find the nuts. These are have a little slot on there. There'll be 2 of these, and then there's going to be 2 of these, kind of 1/4 inch screws with the Phillips head. Take 2 of the posts and put them in the holes. For this belt here, it's going to be the top hole and the bottom slot. It's really quite simple. Just line them up. Now, as with anything, don't tighten everything up until you have both of the screws in place. Otherwise, it can kind of jam up on you. Now, because there is this slot here, there is still just another little bit of adjustment. So if you wanted it to be a little bit more of an angle or a little bit more vertical, you can do that. It's not going to really matter for these particular ones because you can adjust the angle of the pouch later. It's kind of simple as that. What I've done, because I've played around with this, I want to go on the first set of full holes. That puts my first pouch kind of out in front of me. For the next one, I want to space it out so that there's about 2 slots visible before I put in my next receiver. And we're going to have one more. So again, we're probably going to want to skip so that there's 2 more slots visible. You could go a little closer if you wanted, but there's more chance that you're going to create some conflict if you want to run your mag pouches at an angle. If you want to run everything vertical, you could probably get things just a little bit tighter, but I don't like to do that, so I'm not going to do that. They really didn't take much time at all to get that assembled. Take your mag pouches, slide them in place. Now, for these tech mounts, you just push this little button. They kind of lock in place. You can just jam them in there too, I guess. But if you want to adjust the cant angle, you just push that button, rotate it to where you want it. Depending on how you want this, you can organize these in a bunch of different ways. Now, what I was talking about earlier with being able to rearrange, you're going to go to the range and you decided that, hey, I'm not actually going to do any rifle shooting today, but I'm going to do a bunch of pistol shooting. So you might want to ditch that guy and just throw on another pistol pouch. Maybe you decide that, hey, I'm going to be doing a bunch of prone work, so I don't want these on there at all. So you can just do something like that. A smart thing to do is to either get extra pouches, or even if you just get a spare one of these, so you've got just one more slot to put it. It gives you just a little bit more options for how to rearrange things, especially on the fly. If you want to take something from being at the very front and just move it to the back, say I'm going to be laying prone or something, I just grab it, move it to the back. Ability to kind of rearrange things on the fly, play around with what you like. It's really quite versatile, and it will scale with you. Quick note on our Odin pistol pouches. These are designed so that they will work with pretty much any 9mm double stack magazine. So 2011 will work. Glock, if you adjust the retention screw, something smaller like a SIG P320 mag, kind of doesn't matter. You just adjust that low retention screw right there. As for our rifle pouches, these will work with pretty much any AR-15 magazine, whether it's a PMag or metal mags. If you want to adjust retention, it's just through these screws here. These are just rubber spacers. Adjust those screws as needed for either. Let's just take a look at the holster and see how that works, because it's basically the same thing. We have the tech mount disc mounted on here. Just slides into place and clicks. Now, the cool thing about this is you can adjust the angle of this as well. You just push the little button on the bottom right there. Once you have that pushed in, you can kind of release it once you start it moving. Just kind of push it until it clicks into place. For most people, they're going to want it just a hair angled forward. You don't want to go too crazy, because then it makes your draw kind of real wonky. But if you put it just a bit forward, you can see that it makes the grip angle of your gun a little bit more level with your belt. And then that usually makes for a bit more comfortable of a draw and a little bit faster, kind of depending on what the grip angle of your gun is. There is a lock here too, so that once you have it in place, you just push this lock one way or the other, and it prevents it from being pushed and getting released. Not going anywhere. Real nice. Now, that gets us the basic shooting stuff, but say you want to throw something like a Molle pouch on there. Say you've got a IFAK like this one. This one here's a micro trauma kit from Blue Force Gear. So I'll show you the other mounting option that these things have, which is these little slots in the top. They're actually kind of like Molle slots. Like, they're not really full-on Molle, but they work well for these purposes because they're spaced out correctly. So all you got to do is find the positioning you want to this, which is typically going to be I don't know, kind of small of the back area. You want to be able to reach it with both hands independently. And just take the one wrap here, slide it through the loop underneath here. Now this is where the flathead screwdriver comes into play. Take your flathead, slide it over top there. Then when we fish in the top layer, if we can get the screwdriver kind of underneath it, just a little bit kind of like that. This will help us to guide this one wrap into place without it trying to stick to the bottom layer. Just kind of wiggle it around here. Make sure it's not binding up. Pull it out and push that in place. Oh, I didn't get, there we go. Got underneath it. Just make sure you try and take up as much of the slack as you can so that it's not bouncing around on your belt. Pull it out. Give it a bit of a push. As you can see, there's Velcro on this inner layer. That's because this belt here is made as a inner-outer belt system, just like most current tactical belts are. So there we go. We've got our belt mostly built here. We've got 2 pistol pouches. We have 1 rifle pouch. We could always go in and add 1 more rifle pouch. You could even add, say, we have a tiny little dump pouch here. It's another Blue Force gear thing that also would fit right in here, or maybe even right on the other side. There you have it. Kind of a real simple, basic range belt. It's fairly scalable. The thing I really like about it is how quickly you can rearrange everything. You can take this to a USPSA match, swap out the rifle pouches for pistol pouches in like less than 10 seconds, and then later in the day, not even later in the day, like 1 minute after you're done shooting, you can put these things back. Like this is how easy it is to rearrange things. And they're still very secure. You usually don't need more than 1 rifle mag for spare for kind of anything you're doing, except for maybe a training class where you want to be spending more time on the line and less time like loading mags. You just load up a bunch of mags. You can have 2 on you and 1 at the gun. Keeps you on the line longer. Hopefully it helped, folks. If you have any questions, either drop a comment below or contact me at brent@hammerarmament.com. 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome back, folks. Brent here with Hammer Armament. Today we're going to fuck. Son of a bitch. I hate this part. Oh no. Either this came undone or that was down the whole time. Fuck. Well, better do it again. Oh. Ooh. That's a neat little port, you know? You punch it right through the bad guy's guts and then that's a fucking shooting port. I'm done. Oh man, we should probably just immediately delete that.